This is Weird Al Yankovic. On November the 29th, 1982, one of the biggest selling records of all time would hit the shelves. It would smash album charts around the globe from the UK, USA, Australia, Scandinavia, and even Japan. 42 years later, it would still be sitting pretty at number 42 on the Billboard Hip Hop album charts. Thriller is the name of that record. It features Billie Jean, Thriller, and a funky little rock number called 𝕣Get, featuring the late great Eddie Van Halen on guitar. 2 years later, on February the 28th, 1984, a nerdy-looking comedian would release his own version of this now iconic track. But this wasn't just any old cover song. In fact, it was far from it. Eat It would hit number 12 on America's Billboard Top 100 chart, number 36 in the UK, and even smash number 1 in Australia. Weird Al Yankovic in 3D would be the second studio record from Weird Al Yankovic, and Eat It would be the opening track for this rather unique album. It even features a comedy version of Eye of the Tiger by Survivor, widely known as being the theme tune from Rocky. Weird Al Yankovic in 3D would be one of 14 studio albums released by this musical comedy guru between the years 1983 to 2014. To date, he's recorded over 150 parody songs and sold more than 10 million albums. He's even won 5 Grammy Awards. He would go on to record Smells Like Nirvana, Like a Surgeon, and of course, Amish Paradise, and received his very own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's actually achieved more success than most artists could ever dream of. This is Amish Paradise, the weird story of Weird Al Yankovic.
Looks like it's gonna be another record-breaking show.
My upbringing was pretty straightforward, and I had a very normal childhood. I guess when I went to college, I got away from home and got a little strange, and then of course I guess the boysenberry yogurt baths help bring out the weirdness a little bit too.
Born Alfred Matthew Yankovic, October 23rd, 1959. Al grew up in California and attended Linwood High School. Thanks to his career guidance counselor, Yankovic would attend the California Polytechnic State University, where he obtained a degree in architecture. He actually wanted to be a writer for Mad magazine.
Gosh, it started when I was just a little fetus, David. It was many years ago, and when the Earth's crust was still warm.
His path into music started long before this. The day before his 7th birthday, he started accordion lessons. Unlike the cool youth of that era who would come to admire Elvis, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, all the greats of rock and roll, Al would look to slightly unusual music role models. Although the first song he remembers hearing would be Johnny Cash's version of Boa Constrictor in 1966, originally written in 1962 by Shel Silverstein, an American writer, cartoonist, songwriter, and musician.
Oh, yummy. Oh, yummy. He's up my tummy.
Al would soon discover his love for pop music, though, in the 70s, and Elton John would come to be one of his favorite artists. He would play Elton John's 1973 record, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, over and over on his accordion. Television, of course, played a big part of Al's cultural interests. There was only one TV in the house, but my parents usually deferred to me. I watched a lot more TV than a healthy child probably should. A lot of cartoons, any sitcom that was on, variety shows, The Twilight Zone. One show I really used to like was Mr. Terrific, with Steven Strimple and Dick Gautier. Pretty obscure, lasted only a season. Mr. Terrific would take a power pill that would make him a superhero, but then the pill would wear off, and if he was in mid-air, he would crash into a haystack or something like that. Bizarre little show. At recess in 2nd grade, I'd pretend I was Mr. Terrific. The radio is where he would discover one of his favorite shows, the Dr. Demento Show.
Dead puppies are a lot of fun. That's
no good.
A little beyond the pale.
What about
a weekly syndicated program of novelty songs and comedy skits aired across the United States.
Thank you. It is indeed a pleasure to be seated here tonight with the extraordinary Frank Zappa. Frank, welcome to Tomorrow Coast to Coast.
This is where he found his true and unusual influences: Alan Sherman, Stan Freberg, Spike Jones, and Tom Lehrer.
Hello, mother. Hello, father.
I remember the first time I heard the show. It was in 71 or 72. I listened for a while, and I remember my mum came into the room and heard some song and demanded that I turn that thing off immediately. But I was hooked and continued to listen week after week. If it hadn't been for the Dr. Demento show, my life would have taken a dramatically different course. Luckily, those weekly doses of Spike Jones, Alan Sherman, Tom Lehrer, and Stan Freberg warped me at an early age. Alfred Matthew Yankovic would soon become the persona we know today. During the 2nd year of his degree in architecture, he took up a spot on the local campus FM radio station. This is where he became Weird Al. He would spin records between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. every Wednesday night. Not exactly the golden hour slot, but he had to start somewhere.
You got Weird Al on your radio? It's instant request time!
Although his amateur DJ career almost came to a screaming halt. One night there was heavy rainfall and some classes had been cancelled the week before because of this. I'm not sure what type of rain they had back then to cause a school to close, but it must have been pretty dangerous. Maybe some floods. People were constantly calling the radio show to ask Weird Al if school would be cancelled the next day. Finally, the housing department called to tell him that school was officially cancelled for the following day, so he made the announcement. And much to his surprise, this landed him in deep water. Pun fully intended. Half an hour later, the campus police stormed into the radio station, and they were not happy. They immediately took me off the air. I was told that attendance was down 70% the next day. I later heard that when people studying for their finals heard my announcement, they threw their books in the air and partied the rest of the night. Obviously, the call I'd gotten from the housing department was a prank call. School was not cancelled. I didn't know if I should ever show my face in that city again. They managed to forgive me. Over time, I just got my wrist slapped. They knew how embarrassed I was over the whole thing. I'm sure that to this day, they still tell that story. Luckily for Yankovic, he was about to get his first small taste of fame. He would start sending his own tape recordings, musical parodies, to the Dr. Demento radio show around 1976. And to his surprise, Dr. Demento started to play them. It was just Weird Al singing and playing his accordion in his bedroom. One of the first songs was called Belvedere Cruising, and it was just about the Yankovic family car, a 1964 Plymouth Belvedere. Al's big break, though, would come with his first real parody song, My Bologna, released in 1979.
Hungry one, open up a package of My Bologna.
A comical take on the Knack's hit single, My Sharona, released earlier the same year. My Sharona was essentially a power pop rock love song about boy meets girl, whereas My Bologna was quite literally a song about sausage. Bologna, sausage. A chance meeting backstage at a concert put Yankovic in the path of Rupert Perry, then the vice president of Capitol Records. It was actually a Knack show. And somehow the band, loving Weird Al's parody of their hit single, convinced Perry to release it. This did not bring Al any fame nor fortune, so he decided to simply finish school and in 1980 graduated with a degree in architecture. However, his urge to parody simply wouldn't leave him alone. In 1983, he decided to keep pursuing his love for comedy and music, whilst working a minimum wage job at the radio network Westwood One, where he was but a simple errand boy. 2 new recordings would see him land official chart positions in the US singles chart.
Another comes on, and another comes on, another one ride the bus.
Hey!
Another one, Rides the Bus, and Ricky.
Oh, Ricky, what's a girl like me supposed to do? You really drive me wild.
The first being a parody of Queen's Another One Bites the Dust, originally released in 1980, and the latter musing on the bubblegum pop smash Mickey from 1982. Amazingly, Ricky reached number 63 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Another one bites the dust. Another one rides the bus.
Although Weird Al followed up with another single, I Love Rocky Road, based on I Love Rock and Roll, originally written by the Arrows in 1975, and ironically made famous by another artist covering the same song in 1982, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Weird Al's version landed pretty flat though. 1984 would be the year of Yankovic. He released Eat It, the Michael Jackson cover.
Now if you start to death, you'll just have yourself to blame. So eat.
Taken from one of the biggest selling records of all time, Thriller. Eat It was over the top, eccentric, and nobody could take it seriously, which ironically for many people was the entire narrative for that decade. I can certainly enjoy music and any kind of art for what it is. My brain isn't constantly going, how can I screw this one up? When I'm writing parodies, I definitely have to put myself in a different mindset where I am analytically looking at something and saying, how can I make this funny? Thankfully, that switch is not on 100% of the time. Hairspray-covered spandex and men in makeup, all trying to play the biggest riff louder than anyone else, were almost becoming a parody of themselves. So in a way, Weird Al Yankovic was right at home. Eat It would be his highest charting song of that era.
It doesn't matter what you had for lunch, just eat it.
Not only this, throughout the 80s, he was releasing album after album and seeing enormous success. Not just for a parody artist either. He was charting next to the likes of AC/DC, Motley Crue, and even Bob Dylan. Weird Al would release a staggering 6 studio albums during this decade alone. Weird Al Yankovic in 1983, Weird Al Yankovic in 3D in 1984, Dare to Be Stupid in 1985, Polka Party in 1986, Even Worse in 1988, and UHF, Original Motion Picture Soundtrack, and Other Stuff in 1989.
Stop dragging my car around. And you can watch till your eyes fall out of your head. That'll be okay.
Like a surgeon. Hey! Cat and fox.
Yeah. Do the Harlem polka. Because I'm fat. I'm really fat. Be a Beverly Hillbilly.
That last record is a very interesting one, as it is actually the soundtrack to a film called UHF, a comedy film written by Weird Al Yankovic and his manager at the time, Jay Levy.
A man of action. A man of courage.
AC/DC and Motley Crue only managed to release 5 records in the same time period. And what's really funny about this is in 1983, Motley Crue released Shout at the Devil. It hit number 17 in the Billboard charts. The following year, 1984, Weird Al Yankovic in 3D would also land at number 17 on the Billboard charts. I can't imagine being a member of Motley Crue in 1984, knowing that Shout at the Devil was commercially on par with Weird Al Yankovic. He even appeared on Oprah.
We're that dame. I mean, how weird are you?
I don't know. A lot of people say, Al, why are you so weird?
By 1989, Weird Al Yankovic's single Eat It had officially gone gold, and he even won a Grammy for it. Weird Al Yankovic, a parody artist, now a gold record holder from the official RIAA and a Grammy. And boy, was he only just getting started. September the 24th, 1991, the second studio LP by grunge icons Nirvana gets its major label release by Geffen Records. It smashes global album charts, landing #1 spots in multiple countries. This is mostly thanks to one song, Smells Like Teen Spirit. Written about the youth of America, but named after a stick of deodorant.
Smells like Teen Spirit.
It smells like the ocean. It's so good.
Wow, smells really natural.
I'm a smellologist,
It is Caribbean cool.
and this smells good.
I knew it smelled like Teen Spirit. Hey, this is for girls.
This smells like Teen Spirit.
Can I have it?
The video itself became just as iconic as the song. It almost sounds like a parody on its own. Weird Al would use Nevermind as the concept for his 7th studio album, Off the Deep End.
Well, we don't sound like Madonna.
I can't watch this.
Food is coming, I can hardly wait. Now watch your fingers, careful hot plate. You know she gets me, my headphones for free, refills my coffee cup, whatever.
Instead of a baby swimming after $1, it's Weird Al swimming after a donut on a fishing hook. And his answer to Smells Like Teen Spirit was Smells Like Nirvana. Yankovic used the exact same set shown in the original Nirvana shoot, some of the same cheerleaders, and even the very same janitor. And Kurt Cobain himself not only gave Weird Al his permission to cover the song, he even loved the concept behind the parody, which was that nobody could understand a word Kurt Cobain was singing in Nirvana's original version. Off the Deep End didn't quite sell as many units as Nevermind, but it still gave Weird Al another top 20 Billboard chart position. The same album also featured I Can't Watch This and The White Stuff.
Yo, I told you, I can't watch this. Change the channel now. The White Stuff.
Quite hilarious parodies of MC Hammer's Can't Touch This and You Got It, The Right Stuff by New Kids on the Block.
You know, you can't touch this.
Yankovic said the following about his phone call with Kurt Cobain on trying to get approval to record his rendition of the grunge classic. He was sweet and he got it in like 5 seconds and said, "Of course you can do a parody." The famous quote from him was, "Is it going to be a song about food? Because at that point that's primarily what I was known for." I said, "Well, no, it's going to be a song about how nobody can understand your lyrics." And he said, "Oh, sure, of course. That's funny." That's one of those phone conversations I wish I had recorded. I'd love to hear that myself. After Smells Like Nirvana was released, Yankovic ended up meeting Cobain in person. He just happened to be eating at an adjoining table with his friends. This was after the parody had come out, so I got to go over and thank him in person. I just profusely thanked him and said, "Anything I can do for you, let me know." Kurt extended his hand to me and said, "Polish my nails." Despite Cobain being a fan of Yankovic's version, Nirvana still wins on popularity to this day. It's not even a competition, but that shouldn't be a surprise. On YouTube alone, Smells Like Teen Spirit racks up around 400,000 views every single day, while Smells Like Nirvana only brings in around 4,000 a day. In an interview after Cobain's death, Yankovic commented on why he continued to play Smells Like Nirvana live. "I suppose that song will never again be as funny as it once was. Kurt was a fan of the song, and I think he would have wanted it that way. From time to time in my career, I've gotten letters from kids who said they were on the brink of suicide or suffering major bouts of depression. and listening to my music kind of got them out of that. I can't tell you what a letter like that means to me. I never dreamed my songs could have such a positive effect on people. Despite the unfortunate and sad undertones that would come to be for this song, this type of exposure and success put Weird Al Yankovic into a league of his own.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at...
During the mid-90s, Weird Al would leave grunge behind and try his hand at hip-hop. This would lead to not only one of the funniest songs to date, but also one of his funniest videos.
At 4:30 in the morning, I'm milking cows. Jebediah feeds...
August the 1st, 1995, West Coast gangster rapper Coolio would release Gangsta's Paradise. The song would appear in the opening credits of Dangerous Minds, a film that follows a US veteran by the name of Luan who takes up a teaching position at a school populated by teenagers from low-income working-class backgrounds, many of whom are involved in gang warfare, which surprisingly Al was not when growing up. It was supposed to be a hard-hitting perspective on the dangers many young Americans faced at the time, but it didn't quite hit the spot with critics. Gangsta's Paradise, though, would become a global smash, landing over 20 #1 spots on charts around the globe, turning double and triple platinum in several countries.
I guess they can't, I guess they won't, I guess they front, that's why...
It was supposed to be somewhat of a serious take on the dangers of gang life, so when Weird Al came along, it was quite a shock to the system to see how he transformed it into something so innocent. Amish Paradise was quite simply about Amish people going about their daily lives, churning butter, plowing fields, and being named Ezekiel, which to them is paradise.
Like on my knees day and night, scoring points for the afterlife. So don't be vain.
His quirky take on rather generic Amish stereotypes, which are actually mostly true, just struck a chord with people everywhere and landed Yankovic another Billboard chart position.
It's hard work and sacrifice living in an Amish.
This came from his 9th studio record, Bad Hair Day, released in 1996, peaking at number 14 on the US Billboard charts. It also featured parodies of Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me by U2, Lump by the Presidents of the United States of America, and Waterfalls by TLC.
Might be dead. He's gone, he's not too bright.
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Don't go making phony calls.
The 90s would see Yankovic release 4 albums in total, Off the Deep End in 92, Alapalooza in 1993, Bad Hair Day in 96, and Running with Scissors in 1999.
What are the words? Oh, never mind. I'm a loser, baby. So why don't you kill the prepubescent flying ace and the mid?
The latter featured a parody of The Offspring's Pretty Fly for a White Guy called Pretty Fly for a Rabbi, and also a track called Germs that was in the style of 9 Inch Nails.
So don't teach me, play us straight. You know how far you have you seen this Jew? Breathe. I know they're watching me. They're always watching.
And we can't forget One Week by Bare Naked Ladies, although Weird Al's parody was called Jerry Springer, which was based on, well, The Jerry Springer Show.
When you're mad, trying hard not to smile, though I feel bad. They're always roaring, cursing, kicking, button, pointing blame. On the air, they don't care, they got no shame. It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Dropped your eyes to the sides and sounds. It's been 1 week since they had the fight with the Siamese twins and the...
During the 80s and 90s, Weird Al has managed to release 10 studio albums packed with not only parody, but also original material he had written himself. And every single record found its way onto the Billboard charts, which for a comedy musician is nothing short of remarkable. Not only this, he had multiple singles and albums that had received gold and platinum certifications from the official RIAA. This was quite literally rock star status. And to put this into perspective, during the 90s, Nirvana, one of the biggest bands of the era, only had 4 records with gold or platinum RIAA certifications. Weird Al had 7. Weird Al Yankovic was by now an icon in his own right, so where on earth could he possibly go from here? If I wasn't on the internet, then I wouldn't be up on culture, so I have to embrace new technologies and new portals of information, and the internet's obviously a huge part of that. It's been pointed out that whereas in the 80s and 90s, a lot of my humor was revolving around things like food and television, in the last 20 years, it's been more about the internet and nerd culture, which is the way our world has been going. October the 28th, 2002, arguably the biggest rapper in the world releases Lose Yourself. 8 Mile, starring Eminem, would be the story of a young rapper in Detroit struggling with almost every aspect of life, trying to make it big in the music industry and get out of poverty. Lose Yourself took over 25 #1 spots on single charts around the world, and 8 Mile was a box office smash, becoming the second highest grossing R-rated film in America at that time. Lose Yourself even won a Grammy. So, of course, Weird Al Yankovic had to find a way to make fun of it. Poodle Hat would be the 11th studio record by the now infamous parody musician. Released in 2003, it featured Couch Potato, A Complicated Song, and eBay, among others.
Lose your mind watching TV, they told me, but I still why'd you have to go and make me so constipated? I bought on eBay.
Couch Potato is of course based on Lose Yourself by Eminem, A Complicated Song is based on Avril Lavigne, and eBay is Yankovic's take on I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys.
Only get one shot, do not miss your chance to blow. This happens to you. Lose your mind watching TV, they told me, but I thought you had to go and make things so complicated. How was I supposed to know we were both related? Tell me why it ain't nothing but a loss. I bought it on eBay.
Whilst Poodle Hat would be another great success for Weird Al, hitting number 17 on the Billboard charts, he was about to face the first real challenge of his life. And unfortunately, this challenge came through what would be in the form of tragedy. Not only had Weird Al been releasing records, he was also touring. In 2003 alone, he played over 30 shows, and the following year was set to be an even longer touring schedule. Sadly for Al, he was about to receive the worst phone call of his life. On April the 9th, 2004, Nick and Mary Yankovic, Al's parents, were found dead in their home. Unknown to Nick and Mary, there was no open vent for the fireplace, causing the building to be filled with a deadly gas. Al was naturally devastated. Being an only child, he had a very close relationship with his parents, and they did nothing but support him in his quest for success from day one. My parents were found dead in their house. I was actually on the road. I was touring at the time. The flue of their chimney was closed, and they died from carbon monoxide poisoning. It's the most painful moment and day of my life. I was very close to my parents. It's just the pain and the grief is just indescribable. It's something I have to live with to this day. I lived in a lot of denial and depression for a long time after that. I actually stayed on the tour because I felt like that would be a good way to get my mind off of reality. It wasn't an easy decision for Al to continue his tour. He said he broke down for several hours that day before realizing what he had to do. He couldn't give up on all the people that would lose their job if the tour was cancelled, and he also knew that fans from all over the country were taking time out of their life to come and see him. He also thought that because his music had helped people in the past, that maybe this would work for him as well. Yankovic would eventually pick himself back up, and after taking a year off from touring, he'd be back bigger than ever. And this time, he was going gangster again.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube from the gang.
Straight Outta Compton by NWA, released in 1988, would be the inspiration for Al's next masterpiece.
Happy Days is my favorite theme song. Sure, kick your butt in a game of ping pong. I'll ace any trivia.
September 26th, 2006, Weird Al Yankovic would release his first #1 album, Straight Outta Linwood. For this offering, he would parody Green Day with Canadian Idiot, Rage Against the Machine with I'll Sue Ya, and his biggest single to date at the time, White and Nerdy.
Maple syrup and snow's what they export. The nerve to put me on hold. I sue Starbucks.
MySpace page is all totally pimped out. Got people begging for my top 8 spaces. Yo, I know
White and Nerdy would be Al's first top 10 single on the Billboard chart, peaking at number 9. Straight Outta Linwood would land at number 10 on the Billboard 200, and also bring him his first #1 spot on the US Comedy Albums chart. White and Nerdy was based on a track called Ridin', released in 2006 by American rapper Chameleon Air.
They see me rolling, they hating. They see me mowing my front lawn.
Weird Al would also land his first ever official US Billboard 200 #1 in 2014 with his final studio album, Mandatory Fun.
Perhaps you would like a new counter for Micah. Maybe I'll hook up this here combo.
Won't admit they fake a whole landing. Thought control race.
Wear my Ed Hardy shirt with Flores.
This was the first comedy album in history to debut at #1. Weird Al Yankovic had quite literally made history.
It's hard work and sacrifice living in an
Amish Paradise was actually the first video I remember seeing by Weird Al many, many years ago. And I was a huge fan of Coolio's original version actually as well. I'll admit though, I never saw Weird Al Yankovic as I guess on par with real artists at the time, so I didn't exactly go running out to buy all of his records. Yet when you look back at what he's achieved, not just culturally, the man has sold millions of records. His songs have been streamed hundreds of millions of times. He has 5 Grammy Awards, and 18 of his records have either been certified silver, gold, or platinum. This man has achieved more musically than most artists can ever dream of. He really is a true musical genius. More importantly, he's managed to do all of this without saying fuck, not even once in any of his songs.
Living with a hernia, that's Weird Al Yankovic, who you might notice is sitting right here in this incredibly wild shirt.
Weird Al, you truly are white and nerdy, and we all salute you.